We getting people in the room. Yeah. All right, perfect. What's up, everybody? My name is Dr. Williams. Welcome. I'm excited for this talk tonight. Uh, can everybody hear me? Y'all are free to send some reactions, some emojis, talk in the chat. Perfect. I see Brenda. Hey, Austin. Feel free to shout out where you're tuning in from. We'll give it about another 1 to 2 minutes. Allow a few people to come in. People who like to be fashionably late, come dressed to impress, and then we'll get started. Walnut Creek, California. Okay. South Carolina. I'm always shout out Brooklyn. So I'm from Brooklyn, New York. In the words of uh, the great Jay, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us tonight. So we appreciate that. Baltimore in the house. Okay. Give it about two. All right. Baltimore by way of Alexandria. Oh, it's the CEO, the boss, Dr. Daniel McCamey. What's up? Hey. So it's gonna be, we gotta keep the energy up when she in the building. All right, y'all. I am excited for our conversation tonight. Not only because these are my fellow Baylor alums. Boop, 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 boop. We need to add a Jamaican fire horn to these meetings for sure. But not only am I excited because these are Baylor alums, but also because we have been talking about doing this for like 2 years. I'm getting old. My time of perception is slowly dwindling. But apparently it's been about 2 years. So without further ado, I'd like us to get started. Welcome to the Future DOC Talk Student Speaker Series. For those who don't know, DNPs of Color is one of the premier nursing organizations focused on doctorally prepared nurse practitioners of color. But honestly, I tell people it's every and any level of nursing and anyone who is aligned with us with the idea of increasing diversity, increasing robust nursing science, and all those things are part of DNPs of Color. We're a movement and also an organization. So tonight we have three dynamic speakers. I just saw Brenda. Did she have a hand up? Oh, okay. We have three dynamic speakers. We're focused on the advocacy toolkit, student leaders advancing nurse practitioners in becoming policy advocates. All right, so who do we have here tonight? First, I'm gonna be the moderator, Dr. Michael Williams. Pleasure to meet y'all. If you don't know me, Brooklyn, New York, so I'm always rep, and also Panama. We'll start with Dr. Andrea Kirshner. Dr. Andrea Kirshner is a family nurse practitioner with passion for policy engagement, along with developing the advocacy toolkit. She's done grassroots legislative work focused on protecting rights of parents to breastfeed in public and pumping in the workplace. Current clinical practice is urogynecology. We got Jeffrey Howard, Dr. Jeffrey Howard. He's also a nurse practitioner, former Army combat vet. He serves as VP and chair of the Policy and Legislative Committee for the Austin Advanced Practice Nurse Group, along with some other leadership roles. His current clinical practice involves pain management and his own primary care telehealth practice called My Virtual NP. So we'd like to welcome him. And then finally, Dr. Teresa Vazquez, also a family nurse practitioner whose policy engagement centered around full practice authority for TNPs, which we'll discuss here. Her clinical work is in rheumatology, so improving the quality of life of those with chronic inflammatory conditions. If we can, let's give them a round of applause. Boop, 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 boop. Can y'all just all just say hi, what up to everybody real quick?
Hey everyone, thank you for having us here. We're excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, excited to get this going.
Definitely a pleasure. And thanks for inviting us. We look forward to getting this thing going.
All right, all right. So without further ado, tonight's conversation again is going to be centered around advocacy toolkit. The future DOC series is really for our student nurse practitioner leaders, DNP leaders. Now, these three are newly minted. I want to make sure you know they graduated last May, so they are fresh out of the student role, but it's a role that continues. So for us, these speaker series, we want to acknowledge that as a student, there's a lot of power in that voice. There's a place for you to be, a subject matter expert, a speaker, and we're really going to just dive in and explore what that means for these three individuals. So if we can, Jeffrey, I would love for you to start us off on this journey. Just give us a little bit of context, and then I'll have Andrea go, and then Teresa from each of y'all perspective. Kind of how'd y'all come to be? If you want to start, Jeffrey.
Yeah, as you stated, we're students at Baylor University, the Louise Harrington School of Nursing, doing our DNPs as family nurse practitioners. And at some point, our paths all crossed. But it really culminated in the policy course that we had with Dr. Jessica Peck. You know, I thought that policy was one of those boring topics that I would just kind of honestly just get through. Hopefully, I get a high B or A or something. It was just one of those things, and it turns out it wasn't that at all. So no, it's not just policy, it's really patient care. And the way we approached that course let me know that that was my passion. It sort of helped stoke that fire. And we came up with that idea, and I won't take away from their points here. Just talking to these two wonderful individuals, we decided to tackle a policy project together, and it culminated into where we are now. I'm gonna let Andrea go next.
Yeah, so Jeff, being the communications guy, he actually introduced me to Terry, and I think it was because he wanted to find someone to study with, and we lived near each other, so we started studying together. Then he introduced me to Terry. Um, and we were all looking at, different projects. What are we going to do? And it was actually Jeff who had the idea to do a policy project, which I was very excited about because, as Michael mentioned, I've done legislative work. It's why I got my doctorate degree, because I wanted to have that impact on policy. And so I was all about it. And so Jeff brought us all together. He was the driving force behind that.
Mm, thank you.
Hey everyone. I have to agree. Jeffrey was definitely the glue in this situation. He is so excellent at networking. He was a driving force in getting us all together. I met him. I will always remember because he reached out to me, a complete stranger, to correct my APA. On one of those forum assignments. I already blocked it out. What were they called?
Discussion boards.
Thank you. I was just like, oh my God, words I never wanted to hear again. Yes, on a discussion board, and he basically helped me master APA, and then I started helping other people. And so, even like people going to other schools in their doctoral programs, but he definitely introduced me to Andrea and got everything going. And when we were talking about starting a DMP project, we were all just kind of looking at things, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do a depression screening. And he approached me about a policy project, and he was just like, hear me out. And we talked about it, and we were just like, oh my God, this is going to be so easy, right? Famous last words. But that's kind of the long and short of it. And here we are 2 years later, with a project that I don't think any of us saw getting here, but here we are.
Yeah, yeah. And if you could briefly, Olia, can kind of touch on why did it feel right to partner? Because sometimes we don't spend time just going. What was your process in going? Jeffrey presented this, and you had to say yes, or you had to be like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna mess with that. What kind of led to that, or what was your why to just say we're gonna do this as a collective?
Well, I can jump in there and sort of start. Honestly, I live by the old adage, never be the smartest person in the room, right? But work with them.
Mhm.
So I found the two folks that I thought were smarter than me on many topics. Terry with her ability to do like really complicated statistics and that stuff. And Andrea with her like really research focused brain. Um, so I presented the idea to him and say, listen, I can bring together the communication, I can edit. This is what I can bring to the table, but we really owe it to all Texans to do something that will affect them positively. And that's my perspective on that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought these are two people who have strengths that are more my weaknesses. And so let's partner up. And another part, sometimes group projects, you feel like you're doing all the work and everyone else is slacking. And it was not like that with these two. Even working on other school assignments together, we're always working together and bringing the same energy, which is just what you need when you're taking on a big project like this.
Agreed 100%. I think, when it comes to group projects, I'm not a fan. I feel like often in my school career, I felt like I was always doing all the work and carrying people. But I think in Jeffrey, we trusted. And at that point, we had, like you said, worked together on a couple different things in school, and we were all bringing equal energy to the table. And I think that we trusted that in each other, and we really kind of sat down and talked and said, "Hey, listen, like, this is what I'm thinking." We already had ideas, and so it felt right. But I think also too, at that point in our school career, we were eager to do something big to kind of put our money where our mouth is because yes, we're trying to just get through school, but I think at that point we were all very passionate about change and often talking about what's wrong. And so I think we all just kind of saw policy as a way to, take care of future patients.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Now, in speaking about that, this was a very daunting and a very ambitious, I think, project. So, Teresa, staying with you first, uh, can you tell us who you all partnered with, right, for this project? Because there was some big dogs. So, can you just share
Yeah.
those big dogs?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually partnered with Dr. Kirby and then Dr. Jessica Peck. And Dr. Jessica Peck was my actual policy instructor. So I was in her section. And it's funny because one of my other friends, she actually went to Baylor just to study under her because she was going into pediatrics and she would just talk her up. And, peds is not my ministry, and that's fine. And she would just talk her up, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to try to get into her section." And I was just like, "Oh, well, this lady sounds really cool. I'm going to try to get into her section too." And for whatever reason, I got in and she didn't. And I was even like, "Oh, maybe we should reach out and like switch." Cause like I was just kind of going off of your excitement, you know? But I think, sometimes things are written in the stars. And when we reached out to her, to work on our project. She wasn't planning on doing anything like that semester, and she accepted. And I think I learned a lot from her. And I was very eager and hopeful that she would join us. So we were all very, very excited because in the world of policy, she's a beast and very well known. And so I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better guide.
Right. And Andrea, if you can then, because as a student, it's scary to ask those who are established, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Support me in it. And so if you can, how'd y'all go about that? Or what was that? I mean, was there any fears to asking such such established individuals, and how'd you work around that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was and still am incredibly intimidated by Dr. Peck. She is a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, how did we go? So I think it was, again, because it's a group project, we really got to lean on each other and like hype each other up. But the other part is uh, getting to know nurse practitioners through attending TNP events and Austin NP events. I learned very quickly that those who are involved with students want to help and they want to teach
Yep.
and they want to support you. And Dr. Pack does all of that, and she pushed us to be even better than we thought we could be. Um, and I think that was incredibly important. And
Mhm.
I hope that one day I'm that for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we got to give back. So
Jeffrey, were you the one? I think I remember having the discussion about having her join because I had taken her class and so she had graded my papers. And I remember saying like, "Hey, listen, okay, as someone who had their papers graded by her, yeah, yes, she's amazing, but she doesn't play. Like she's gonna bring it because in the way she graded my papers, like she was like counter arguing me in the way that she graded it and with evidence and and citations in her feedback on my papers. And I was just like, okay, you win. And so I just kind of said like, hey, listen, as long as we understand that if we're bringing her on board, like she's going to take this real seriously. But at the same time, kind of letting them know in my experience, she's so gracious, so approachable. For being such a big name, she doesn't ever kind of make you feel intimidated when you're talking to her. It's more like her reputation. And I don't know if we were like drawing straw. I want to say Jeffrey reached out. I think he drew the short straw
Jeffrey
and he
was our
reached out to her.
Jeffrey is the communications guy. We leaned on him
Yeah.
a lot to reach out to people.
Well, yeah, just sort of clean that up a little bit and kind of follow you guys. Yeah, that's the way it worked. At one point, we were between the two policy professors that we had, and it came down to they both wanted to be on the project, and Dr. Peck's reputation just really preceded her. So we end up choosing her in the end to be our kind of our policy guide. She wasn't our instructor in this case, so we were very fortunate in that case, but. To also answer a few more questions that you posed, we partner with our librarian. Most students don't think to do that, but we were lucky enough that we have a dedicated librarian, and she was phenomenal in helping provide the research articles that we needed. But I need to give a quick shout out to Dr. Brenda Almost, with the Austin Advanced Practice Nurses, who's current president, by the way. But we were coming up with this idea, and we're going to these TMP Capital Days, which I won't jump ahead too much. I kind of presented the idea to her, and she let me interview her, and I said, I think we got something here based on the feedback that she gave me and the conversation we're having. So shout out to you, Dr. Almost. We appreciate you. And then finally, this project led us all the way up to the highest levels of government. At one point, we sat down with the lieutenant governor discussing this very project and how we can get nurse practitioners full practice authority in Texas. And I'll hold off there because I don't want to go too far ahead.
thank you. Wow, that's amazing. And so I guess we'll go from where you kind of left off, Dr. Howard. Speaking about the work, what is the advocacy toolkit? What issues were y'all looking to address? And I also put it in the chat, the actual the PDF, or we put it in the chat, the PDF of the toolkit for those to access it and see the work that they did.
Wonderful question, and I'll answer that sort of briefly and say the thing that we wanted mostly to tackle was um, put up or shut up, right? So a lot of times, as you can all probably agree with, is we as a profession, we're fantastic at focusing on the clinical piece and things of aspects, but sometimes we forget to love ourselves and take care of ourselves. And then for those of us who are wanting to get involved in policy and like make some changes, which is hence me saying put up or shut up, they didn't really know where to start. And I know we didn't when we came up with this idea.
Mhm.
So, excuse me. And that's when we really had to partner with Texas nurse practitioners, often called TNP, to help us find some direction. And we met with the policy leader at Texas Nurse Practitioners, Aaron Cusack, who sort of gave us a little bit of direction. And then we took that, what we came up with together as a collective, to Dr. Peck and some others, our biostatistician as well, to sort of fine tune things and give us the right direction. Because I will say this project had maybe two or three directions, and we finally landed here based on the multiple conversations. But I think I'll leave it there and let my teammates jump in.
Excellent. And Dr. Kirshner, if you can, to Jeffrey's point, why was the focus on kind of like political efficacy or readiness as opposed to just saying we're going to do something to just make a policy that's going to push TMP full practice authority forward? Like you all seem more focused on the nurse practitioner collective rather than just that. So you can speak to that.
Yeah. Well, as Brenda said, and I love to quote, as nurses, we have numbers. We don't have so much money, but we have numbers. And we can use those numbers to break down barriers. And the way to do that is to get nurses, nurse practitioners engaged and involved in advocacy, rather than trying to create more policy. Because the more people we have saying, we need this is important, and educating the public and legislators on it, the more likely we are to make change.
Excellent. Thank you. And Dr. Vasquez, if you can, with this project, what was some of the important things that y'all found or with it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that that question kind of continues to piggyback on what we've been talking about and how it came to be and why we, went the direction that we went. But I think that when we were, kind of starting up and doing the literature review, one thing that kept coming up over and over again is that nurses and nurse practitioners as a whole, as a collective, are largely absent in the policy world. And, that's something that we kind of knew because when we had questions and things, it was always just a lot of like, question marks and not a lot of info. Meanwhile, you had, organized medicine, physicians who were very well organized and very present in policy. And so we continue to see that. And we were kind of asking, like, how do we get to full practice authority when we're not even present in a policy ring, right? And
Mm.
so when in asking that question, I think that as nurses, we have a real big role in patient education. And I think we kind of like took that perspective and said, you know what? We need to take this to like the very basics and teaching people how to get into policy because we're not there, right? And we all have a little bit or none at all, or there's intimidation. And so we were just kind of like, we need to create something that can help us as nurse practitioners at any level, whether you are barely learning about policy or whether you're more experienced, but we need something to get us started. And that's how we kind of came up with this toolkit. When we spoke to Erin with TNP, it seemed like she was kind of thinking the same thing, like how do we get people more engaged? And then that's kind of how we started brainstorming and, started talking about the very beginnings of this toolkit.
Excellent, excellent. And we like I said earlier, Jeffrey and I were talking about this for like 2 years, and looking at just our current social political climate, like this is probably such a forward thinking project for you all. For me, what were some of the things or accent, what were some of the things, I guess from the student perspective, you were surprised about from doing this project or finding this, the findings from it?
I guess I'll jump in there briefly. I guess the biggest shocker was that not many of the folks that were training us and folks we were looking up to in our field had any experience and how to get to the table in terms of advocating for nurses. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And I truly learned that when Baylor sent Andrea and I both to Washington, D.C. to be a part of a policy summit there. And um, I also learned there, and I guess my point for bringing this up was how easy it was to knock on someone's door and just start a conversation about this, and the willingness of those representatives to listen and actually also give feedback as well. So it was very surprising that one, we didn't initially have the knowledge, but folks were receptive to what we're trying to achieve. But oftentimes you would sit in front of the reps and they wouldn't know what a nurse practitioner was versus a nurse. So I guess that's the top three things for me. Thank you.
Well, yeah. Dr. Kirshner, anything you want to add to what surprised you?
No, I agree. Talking to representatives is very easy. And they are very ignorant on what we do and how we do it, and what our education is. And so, really, just starting conversations, building relationships is easier than it sounds. Um, and I think I was also surprised that there's not anything like this out there. Um, no, I did a lot of digging. I even looked at like what medical associations are doing, and they don't have anything like this. But they're very well organized. So I think this is a really great step to getting us more organized. And even if it's not about full practice authority, you can really apply it to any topic that you're passionate about.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that point, because this doesn't just apply to TNP. It can be used other places and in other spaces. Dr. Vasquez, did you want to add anything to that as far as what surprised you?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that surprised me was just kind of how behind we were, as a profession as far as policy went compared to like physician groups and things like that. But on that same token, I think it surprised me at how easy it could be to close that gap if we really commit ourselves to getting involved, because I think that as a whole, we kind of sell ourselves short. But like Andrea said, we know a lot more than we think. Patients, people, public, policymakers, they really do not have a good handle on healthcare in general. If they did, we'd probably have better healthcare. But also what we not only as registered nurses do, but the difference between a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner and what that means. Most of them don't see a difference between a nurse practitioner and a registered nurse, and so really kind of, when having these conversations, finding that we were able to answer the questions that they had because we have the knowledge. I just don't think that we have the confidence. And that's something that we needed to work on that really fueled the toolkit. So, you know.
May I jump in there just to clarify something as well?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
One of the biggest things from my perspective that we got from this entire thing is it wasn't just a toolkit, it was a full project, was the biggest gap was like confidence versus influence. So we
Mm,
did our surveys and what we sifted out was APRNs believe that they understand policy, right? But they don't believe that they can influence it. So that kind of goes to what Terry's point is, which we found that very quite statistically significant. So for future folks, that might be an avenue to approach for other projects.
yeah, yeah, good. And I think Dr. Howard, you basically just kind of led to what I was thinking about moving into next is that the impact of this work, right? Like, what did you actually solve or potentially you see in the future you're solving with this toolkit? And if you want, you can lead with one thing, and then we'll have Dr. Kirshner and Dr. Vasquez share from their perspective.
One thing, better patient access.
better patient access to. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Sorry, you said one thing, so I was trying to be true to that point. Um, yeah, better patient access in terms of, because a side quest part of this project was, kind of putting in the full practice authority piece on it. Now, it wasn't the focus, but if we really take it forward, we could see that, like Dr. Vasquez said, if we were to find a seat at the table, knowing that we are the largest conglomerate in healthcare, and all we'd have to do is open our mouth and things will change. Well, that would in turn lead to us all having the being able to work at the full levels of our licenses, thereby adding the capability to see more patients throughout whichever state or the nation, etc. We focus on Texas.
Mhm. Dr. Kirschner?
Yeah, what problems have we solved? What will we solve? I mean, finding a starting point, right? If you hear about legislation that you really care about, that you want to advocate for or against, and you don't know how to get started on that, um, the toolkit has so many options. Like, it's not just talking to legislators, it's how do you write a social media post? How do you engage with the media? What avenues are there? There's so many ways that people can get involved that in a way that's comfortable for them if they're not comfortable going to the Capitol or talking to a representative.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I think one of the problems that, we were really trying to tackle that we were hoping this toolkit would help to solve is, driving change and, creating change makers, right? And so, like I said, I think we all know a lot more than we give ourselves credit for, and we lack that confidence. But, when there's no guide, when you're not sure how to get started, it can be very difficult, it can be very intimidating because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so, creating change makers and thought leaders, whether it be through social media, writing letters, actually going to speak to representatives in person, there was different levels. Even just, one of my favorite things, I'm all about the basics, and one of my favorite things in the toolkit is just the section that just explains how government works, how a bill becomes a law, because so many of us don't know that. We don't know the steps. We think like, oh, they proposed a law. Like, what happened? How did it die? They don't know the amount of times that it needs to be read, the process, right? And so learning about that in an easy, digestible way, the same way that we would teach a patient, right? We're not going to, excuse me, throw all this jargon at them. We need to
Right.
simplify it in a way that we can all understand. And I think that's one of the things I'm so proud of this toolkit is just it distills everything down in a way that anybody can understand.
Excellent, excellent. And that kind of touched on I guess where I was heading to next, because I'll tell you from my personal experience, Dr. Howard was with me and Dr. Olmos. I went to my first like full practice authority hearing, and I was just sitting there amazed at like, man, the medical association was cooking us. Like they was just
Yeah.
flaming us because um, to a conversation I've had with you all is that language matters in policy, right? And can you just a little bit harp on, and Dr. Howard, you can probably lead this on why strong clinical practice and evidence isn't enough to change policy? Because again, I feel like we have to switch that narrative in our brains that we can just out be good enough that that's going to show, right? So, Dr. Howard, if you want to lead that.
Yeah, I think I'll just jump on harp on Dr. Vasquez's point in that the and I don't want to turn this into a bashing session, but I have to say this to make my point. The medical establishment, meaning the medical association here in our state, um, they they put money in the coffers. One of their biggest points, or why they're giving us a thrashing at every hearing, like you were saying, Dr. Williams, was that they have folks whether it's students or residents or whatever, they show up in droves in their white coats and they know their senators and representatives very well. Um, so I think that's one of the many issues is that, man, we got to organize and we got to figure out how to, make it more of a one um, organization that we support. And that's solely why we chose Texas Nurse Practitioners, just to try to figure something out so we can all come together as one voice to really, honestly, for lack of a better word, fight back. Because, man, like you said, Dr. Williams, just being there is very frustrating. Dr. Almost can probably uh, uh, attest to this as well. When we're sitting there in the audience members and we have the answers, we can fight back, but the folks who were representatives just weren't the right folks for those particular hearings at the time. And which that owns to the point too of, creating this toolkit because, maybe our colleagues are frustrated. They need somewhere to start and they pick this up and say, oh, this is how I start this. Let me start my journey. And toward the end, I'll talk about that too as well.
Dr. Kirshner, you want to add to that from your perspective?
Um, why is it not enough to change policy? Because, well, like we've touched on, policymakers don't understand nurse practitioners and what nurse practitioners do. They don't speak our language. You have to really break things down for them so that they understand it, make it digestible. And um, yeah, it's the medical board. They are prone to being misinformed by some studies that get cited they're misciting them and they're misguiding them. And they they show up more often than we do. They do awards with people like news what they do awards with the media, with policymakers. They're doing
Mhm.
their white coat days every month during the legislative session. They are just so well organized and showing up as a large group and a driving force that they're repeating their messages over and over again so that they get heard. And so when you just have good policy and good evidence, if you're not repeating that and telling that to the people that need to know it, they'll never know it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think it was so disheartening to sit there and see that we were not being represented well by the people that we had there. And I don't blame them. I think that as a whole, we, like I said, we lacked that organization that physicians seem to have. And physicians would continue to use the same study. One study wasn't even a good study. Everything they presented was anecdotal. This one time when I was working, this one patient came in, and it's these same tired stories over and over again, and I'm just like, they don't even have it. Like, we have better evidence, we have better points. Like, we can win these arguments. We're just not showing up with the right information. And I think for me, it was just like, I mean, I was just like, get our toolkit can help you with this. Like, where, it was just so
Yeah.
frustrating. Like, I wanted to get in my car with, like, a towel in my hair and, slippers and be like, I'm on my way. Like, but we'll get there. I'm confident that we'll get there.
Yeah, I gotta say that was like one of the most surprising experiences to me. Like, I was just like, yo, they flat out lying. And it was like you mentioned, Dr. Vasquez, a lot of anecdotal sayings. And that's my first time being in a hearing. I was about to get up and be like, I object, Your Honor, right? Like thinking, but I ain't know the proceedings and the procedures. So I was like, let me just chill and I gotta go to work. So I can't be getting in trouble here. Uh, but to you all's point, and I saw Dr. Almost post in the chat, they had the money. And maybe for us, if we don't have the money just yet, then we got to do a better job networking, because that's what I heard from you all's point. This they got award ceremonies monthly, and we you can't ask for stuff when you need it. You have to build that relationship in order for people to get to it. So I think that, and then I saw Dr. McCamey pointing out nurses shift change, which is a grassroots org working to do some policy changes. And we have a rally coming up in May 7th, DC, big rally and lobbying day. So kind of bringing it back to us. Now, I always say as a student, you kind of get, you feel you're in survival and then you're in listening mode, as in, I have to listen what others say, right? And it's very scary, or you struggle to find that voice, in, especially in this advocacy space. And I think that extends outside of students. I think anybody is uncomfortable unless you do it regularly. So thinking about the student position, right, and the student role when you all were student, um, what was it that you think was that kind of gave you a leverage or a favorable position to do this, or to even speak to people, whether it's legislators or the faculty or TNP, all these individuals. What do you think that is a positive or the leverage of being a student that gives you that? And I'll start with, I guess, Dr. Kirshner, because you're
The positive of being a student is you can kind of be like, I'm just a baby, I don't know anything. And people give you a pass and they want to help you. People love helping, right? Like we all love when someone comes and asks us for help. And you're talking to nurse practitioners, you're talking to legislators. Their job is to help people. And so if you just ask them for help, they're willing to give it to you, especially if you show interest in them in particular.
awesome. Dr. Vasquez, you want to go?
Yeah, I think what was the question? Like our student superpower in tackling this?
Yeah, what's that's a good way. What's the superpower
Yeah,
of being a student? Because a lot of students don't hear that. Like,
yeah,
yo, I am the, I am that,
right.
So
Yeah. Oh man, I mean I have to agree with Andrea. I think that it was a lot of, using our status as a student to kind of say, "Hey, you know what? Like I don't really know or understand, but maybe you can if I just ask you some questions or just kind of like worming in there and then, once they like are talking to you, then you kind of like turn on the full power of your doctoral education up to that point.
right.
And all of a sudden they're just like, "Oh, okay." But I think, that's one thing, but also I think still like being passionate, I think was a very good thing to have as a student because you have, as you're learning more, especially about policy, you have that new fresh passion kind of brewing, which you probably had as a registered nurse. Something's wrong, but now with your doctoral training up to that point, you're feeling more capable, more knowledgeable, and you feel like, I think I know what to do with this passion now. Like I have things that I know now that I can do with it. And so I think that was pretty cool as a student.
Ooh, love that. I know what to do with this passion. I love that saying. So, and Dr. Howard.
Yeah, that was a great, really good way to end that one. Man, honestly, this is going to sound really nerdy, but just access your journal articles to back up the stuff that we were seeing in real time. And the ability to just ask a question, like Dr. Vasquez was saying, and kind of being that bull in the china shop, not being afraid to make a mistake, knowing that you have guardrails, right? There's always somebody who's going to bring you back, right? So, and then personally, I just, joined every committee I possibly could until it got us to where we needed to be. So,
Awesome, awesome. I see Dr. McCamey saying we're not outnumbered, we are out organized, and that is very, very, very true. So this work that you all are doing, I think, is amazing because it extends to a lot of other things outside of TNP. So before we end up with our Q&A, I want to just have y'all give me a 1 to 2 liner final message that you just have to us as a collective group and in general, because this is, of course, this is recorded and this will be shared, and the hopes is always to, for me, in my opinion, is to always leave leave nutrition for others, our future nurses, nurse practitioners to eat from. So, what's your final message to the people here now and in the future? Oh, we'll say Dr. Vasquez. Go ahead, start us off.
Um, I think stay passionate, stay angry, let it continue to drive you, because when you put that aside, you become complacent. And so I think we need to stay passionate and remind ourselves that we're angry about the state of healthcare, and we need to stay angry until we fix it.
Yeah, I would add to that to stay curious and don't get jaded and never be afraid to ask for help, because like the worst they can say is no, I don't want to help you, but most people are going to try and help, or they're going to direct you to someone who can help.
Mine is a platitude. Like I mentioned earlier, nursing is the largest conglomerate in healthcare. We need a seat at the table. Um, there's no way to get a seat at the table if you don't just put one foot in front of the other. We owe it to our profession to lead the charge, and what better time than now in this current political climate to be the change that you want to be.
Excellent. And kind of random, but this question just came to me. And listening to y'all, I hear passion, right? There's an underlying passion. Um, no right answer to this question, but for each of y'all, would you say passion with impact or passion with profit? Because I was thinking about Dr. Howard being the business guy. I think what I know of, I feel like Dr. Kirshner is the passion side. So there's no right answer, but which each of y'all, which would you pick? Passion over passion with profit or passion with impact? Or would you say it's even for me? Start off with Dr. Kirshner. Go ahead.
I'm going to say with impact if I have to pick one, because yeah, I want that to like be my legacy, is like leaving change, making things better than I found them.
Dr. Vasquez.
Listen. um, I'm 42. Listen, okay? Like,
You can say both too. That's options. Both are
it's
penguins.
gonna be profit for me, okay? These handbags don't buy themselves. I think I was passionate with impact up until this point, and now I need money, okay? And I think you can do both. I really do. I think that you can do both. I think at this point in my life, I've given a lot of myself. And so I have taken the stance of being a little bit more selfish as a way to take care of myself and prepare for, the next stages of my life. So I'm going to have to go with profit, but I do believe that you can do both.
And it's great that you both chose the differing dichotomy there, because I'm going to choose both, and I'm going to tell you why. I will say that the impact leads to profit, and just kind of owing to just one line of numbers from our project overall, over 10 years, if we were to gain full practice authority in the state of Texas, we could save the GDP $4.8 billion. That's the economic growth. So.
Ooh. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And
Nerd.
Q&A. Anybody has any questions for the groups, but for the group before we kind of wrap things up, discuss some future events and things like that we got upcoming. You can hop off, you can unmute your mic or add it in the chat if there's any questions to these dynamic speakers.
I got a question for the speakers.
Hey,
Hi, everybody. Great session. Really,
introduce
really
yourself.
proud of you all. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Um, so I want to know, are you all still engaged? Like, I know the DNP project is done, school is done. What are y'all doing now to stay engaged, if anything at all?
Who wants to start?
Go with Andrea.
Okay, I'll start. So Jeff and I are on the legislative committee of the Austin Advanced Practice Nurses. We're actually the legislative committees, two of us. And also I am a TNP legislative ambassador. So I'm working on building connections with my local state level representatives. Um, what else am I doing? I feel like I'm doing more things.
That's
Doing
good.
this.
That's good.
Yeah, doing these talks. I talked at the policy conference that TNP had and organizing another talk for Texas Women's University to talk to those students. And our project lives on. Um, Texas State University had a professor come up to me and tell me that they have now built their policy course curriculum around the different modules in our project, which I thought was incredible and I was so flattered by. So, yeah, staying involved.
I'll jump in there if that's okay, Dr. Vasquez. One, I've been invited to speak at the next TNP conference in the fall, and that's one way to stay involved. And um, let's see, I think I lost my final point. I'll let you go, Terry, and if I recover, I'll let you know.
Okay, so I'm actually glad that you asked this so that you can see our toolkit in action, okay? Because we're all involved at different levels, and that's okay. You know, I am not doing as much as Jeffrey and Andrea. They're a lot more involved. They're in different places in their life, you know. What I do is that I stay informed. I continue to follow and remain knowledgeable, and I educate everybody that I hear even say one twisted thing about nurse practitioners. It's funny because today I got a message that they sent me about a patient I'm going to see on Friday who's like, I'm supposed to see Teresa Vasquez, and her name doesn't even say MD. And I'm just like, I cannot wait to meet you. I cannot wait to meet you and let you know that my name actually says DNP and what that means for you and how I'm going to take care of you. And by the time I'm done with you, you're going to want to see me more than you're going to want to see your doctor because that's typically the case. And so I educate my patients on who I am, what I do, what my title means, that you know what? I actually am doctorally prepared, but I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm a doctor of nursing. And so I think that you can continue to be engaged in many different ways. It doesn't always have to make a big wave because everyone that you talk to is just another opportunity to teach people about who we are and what we do.
And briefly, I did recover. I'm also the precinct chair for the local political party where I am as well. And this project led me to going all the way up to the sorry, the RNC. So it took us pretty high. So I stay engaged in that way. I've been asked to run for office. I won't do it, but this project is, I don't know, it just keeps growing.
Awesome. I can see you running for office.
Not interested
I can see, I can
whatsoever. I
see,
thought I
I can
was,
see you
but
do
this project led me behind the curtain, Dr. Williams, and I don't want to go back behind the curtain.
it. I feel you. I feel you. Any other questions we have for the group? Oh, Dr. McCamey said, go to campaign school. That's healing politics or
Yeah,
yeah,
Healing
healing.
Politics has campaign school.
Yeah, yeah. There's somebody else who has a campaign school too. Oh, Dr. Almost says she's going. Hey, shout out to you.
Yeah. Stay tuned for my fundraiser.
Excellent, excellent.
I'll be
Yes.
donating. I'll be the first one to donate.
And
Thank you.
I'm going to donate right now. I'll be the first one.
I'm getting new headshots done before it goes live.
Dr. McCamey, I think, posted it in the group chat too. And then there's a nurse shift change meeting after this. I saw somewhere.
Yeah, there's a nurse shift
The
change legislative meeting tonight. If you want to leave here and hop on over there,
yeah,
don't worry, it'll be recorded. So we always post on our LinkedIn page, but excited to see the
yeah.
impact of this. I wish that nursing got the memo to start doing more policy stuff first.
Mhm.
At my
Right.
institution, we've been talking about flipping our curriculum to where we talk about public health, public policy first versus trying to get people in clinical. It's like let's understand the upstream impact, the policy levers that manifest in how we are able to practice clinically, that manifest as to why some patients are frequent flyers in your ICU, your clinic, understanding the social drivers of health, the social determinants, political determinants of health, getting that understanding. Because like Dr. Howard, when I was undergrad, even my master's, but DNP school, I got the memo like, hey, yo, like I need to be out here in these Capitol Hill streets because they're literally just tossing spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks and going with that, like, oh, it stick, let's go. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
It
no,
works.
no.
But to your point, we definitely should introduce policy at the very start of nursing, every level. And then by the time they get to the doctoral level, they're well prepared. But yeah, we're
Yeah,
really
yeah,
dropping the ball in that way.
Yeah, and make that a prerequisite before going into clinical. Like, you need to
Mhm.
write up this policy brief.
Yep.
You need to go and attend a general assembly meeting. You need to, do a testimony. You need to find a topic that burns your biscuits that you're very passionate about. And you need to find policies and people advocates that are, leading in that space and shadow them. Like, but that's another soapbox. But we
And
gonna do
don't
it at
be,
Maryland School of Nursing. So.
I just want to jump in there and say I agree with everything you said, but also don't be afraid to be loud. Be loud, like be passionate. Like so many people just kind of want us to be quiet and are
Mm-hmm.
scared to step on toes. And I'm just like, don't be scared to step on toes. We need to stomp on those feet because, we've been working on our profession. It's not new. We're doctorally prepared. What's the problem? We've been doing the work. Now we just need to let people know that. And so, people don't know that. They really think physicians are there, hey, what did you tell the patient? What did you do? And and they make it sound that way, and it's not true.
Yeah,
And so don't be afraid to be loud. Don't be afraid, to, talk to people and, be a little forceful while you're still being respectful, and
Mhm.
showing them your education. But like, trust me
yeah,
when I say, like, we've got this. Like, I honestly, if it was, I was like, we can take them tomorrow if we just had a really good meeting.
yeah,
Like, let me at them, right?
Exactly.
But
that's
Yes.
it.
they
Uh,
don't have it, y'all. They're saying
yeah,
the same boring stories over and over again. I think this is the time because physicians have gotten complacent. TMA is like they're so used to saying their same little stories that they're not even prepared for us if we show up.
hey, love that. That's what we need to do. Just come mob out and have people with flavor in those hearings. That's one thing. It was too unseasoned. It was too dry. The people that were talking for us. So we need flavor. You need attitude. You need everything. So
Hey,
yeah. Just to wrap it up within the last minute, I want to thank everybody for coming out, sharing their just their insight. I want to thank you three for being the work that you're doing because this is incredible. And as students, we always want to leverage that power, which y'all have done throughout and through. So we have a few upcoming things. Next week we'll have our our membership town hall meeting, which will discuss all things related to us and Flow. If you're not a member, I suggest you join. This is a powerful group and there's a lot going on. We have an event April 2nd regarding federal student loan strategies for DNPs of color. Um, we have our primary palliative care conference in April. Look out for that. We have another educational session on bipolar disorder, comprehensive review, and then our major conference, which will be in Detroit. So please follow us on all our socials. Again, this is membership for everybody. I am not the type of person to be like, it's just nursing because my mom is not in nursing, my cousin's not in nursing, and all of them have insight and value to the work we do as community members. So please consider joining, follow us, and follow these three individuals. If we can, just put their LinkedIn in the chat real quick, Meg, and then also Dr. Howard has his telehealth practice, so My Virtual NP. Check them out. They're doing amazing work. Oh, yep, DNPs of color already posted. So follow these three. Thank you again. Big thanks for everybody who came out and enjoyed this conversation. We'll see you in the future. I'm gonna have my panelists stay back. Everybody else, peace. Dr. Cotton, you talking over there? Are you on mute?